Welcome to Start Small, Dream Big. This is episode 4. This is our podcast powered by NextGen YBP, where we are tapping into bold ideas, real conversations, and community-powered leadership. And I'm your host, Bri Sallis, and we're continuing, really wrapping up our South Haven candidate virtual interview series. And we're diving into what really matters as we approach the August 5th primaries here in South Haven. So in this series, we have been connecting directly with the individuals that are running for mayor to get their take on some of the challenges, the opportunities, and the future of South Haven as well. And we're including questions that are submitted by you, by those that live in or work in, or just care about South Haven overall. So today, I am sitting down with mayoral candidate Mary Hosley, who is also a current city council member for Ward 3. So Mary, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. I'm a lifelong Michigander, born and raised, but I feel like I have been coming to South Haven since the 80s. I'm a Kalamazoo College graduate. It's a quick shot from Kalamazoo to South Haven, and I worked at the Upjohn Company as a research chemist after graduating from Kalamazoo College, and came here, was biking here before the Cal Haven Trail even existed.
Wow.
And had a gift certificate for my wedding for the Last Resort, which is now Water's Edge View. And by then the Cal Haven Trail existed, so my husband and I biked out, stayed overnight, and biked back.
Wow, what a journey. And You've already dived into my first question. I wanted to ask you, that's perfect segue. I wanted to ask you, just, share a little bit about your story, your background, which you've already touched on, and maybe how you got into local politics, and maybe what's inspiring you to run for mayor this year.
Most definitely. So I've always been very philanthropic. I've always volunteered for nonprofit organizations. I've always had leadership positions in them. I've always done animal rescue. So we moved here in 2020 after buying in 2019, looking at potential retirement. I'm a licensed Michigan attorney, so I wanted to stay in Michigan. My husband does triathlons, duathlons, wanted water and natural, beauty for practicing. And we just always came to South Haven, so we started looking. And so I was working from home. It just purely happenstance that I had the approval to do that in 2020. It was not related to COVID. And retired in 21 as a patent attorney from Pfizer. With that retirement, I threw myself into the city. I do that everywhere I go. Just dove right in.
Yeah.
And became a board member of the South Haven Area Community Foundation, and now I'm a second-term secretary for the Community Foundation, and I have been involved with AAUW, American Association of University Women. I've co-chaired, and now I'm chair of the Domestic Violence Prevention Committee for AAUW. I've done some pro bono work after retirement. Spoke with someone, and that's how I got into AAUW. Is I'm very keen on representing those underrepresented. So that's one reason I'm in the Domestic Violence Prevention Committee. That's one reason I do animal rescue work. I'm a strong advocate for the voiceless. And when I started getting involved with local activities at the city council, local politics, I did not realize how much the residents' voices were underrepresented or not listened to. Mm-hmm. And just by nature, I'm an advocate. I think that kind of comes with the territory for rescuing animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I really got involved when there was a potential new zoning ordinance or new zoning district for the north end of town, which is where I live.
Okay.
And through that process, I met a lot of people who were going to city council, planning commission on other matters in the city. And with my science and legal background, I was very intrigued with what was happening citywide, and just really formed some very good friendships, camaraderie, and I swear this is because of my name, Mary, quite contrary, but I'm always asking questions, and I know it irritates people, but I really like to make sure it's the right decision for the right reason the first time. You know, too often I hear you guys keep having the same issue, you know, discussing the same subject matter. And I agree. And it's because decisions get changed. There were not enough of the proper facts. And I do my own diligence, and I'm not afraid to ask the hard questions. And I know that is one reason. I also get a lot of bantering on Facebook, social media. But I get so many thank yous. People stop me in the store, stop me at different social gatherings that I go to. I'm also a member of the Scots Club, which so breaking ceilings. My husband is the first man who has been elected to their board this year.
Nice.
And a woman's group. Men are members, but it's always been women who were on the board, and now they have their first male, who's my husband, who's a historian, in his retirement. And I'm also involved with the Historical Association of South Haven, and just really would cross paths with people who were also very curious and and that's why I'm thanked often for asking the hard questions and wanting the answers. And so that's why I got involved, because if I am going to ask the questions, I should be willing to sit at the table and produce the answers.
Yeah.
And that is why I run, because I just, in the 4 or so years that I've been involved, I think things could be a lot more transparent. And that's what I strive for. And that's what I bring to the city council, is asking the questions that people want to ask but are afraid to ask.
And as you reflect on kind of your track record, your journey, being in city council and being involved in the community, is there something that stands out to you that you're most proud of, and maybe something that you feel still needs attention or still needs work done?
Yes. So one thing that I have done with the assistance of other city council members, it was clarified that for the city council member to the planning commission, the liaison, it's actually the city council as a whole who makes that appointment. It's not by appointment of the mayor. And through that understanding, Councilman Reeser nominated me, and I was appointed to the planning commission to bring a very resident-focused voice to the decisions, because planning affects all of us.
Yeah.
And mostly those who are here year-round. And what I've done is strive to ensure that the new zoning code maintained balance. That was not in the original draft that came out of the committee, that was done in a private setting. I followed those minutes diligently and identified where things had been substantively changed, and worked toward getting the balance back that affected things that are very frustrating to neighbors. One of them is water runoff. We hear consistently a problem with new construction is the diversion of water from the newly constructed property onto the neighbor's property, causing flooding in their basement. Because it went from an empty yard to now a very non-pervious surface area. And because our zoning ordinances allow driveways right up to the property line, we need assurances that it's properly sloped. And a good friend of mine, I've known her since the 90s, had that very thing happen to her. She has an older home. She and her son spent a lot of time refurbishing it. It's absolutely gorgeous. The neighbor to her east poured a driveway along the property line, and she's had to incur $1,000 just in materials. She did not have to pay for labor because her son, who's just fantastic, helped her put in a French drain. But she still, when it's really heavy rain, will get flooding in her basement. And that's just not right. So, I mean, because the zoning ordinance allows the impervious material right up to the property line, that needs to be taken in or approved with the understanding that the zoning ordinance also prohibits diversion of water onto your neighboring property. Gotcha. And since being on city council, and especially the planning commission liaison, I have heard several times that this is a consistent error, a consistent problem. And that's just not right for our residents. They deserve better. Yep. So I have suggested that maybe, there's some common sense ways to address this. A checklist. When people call the city, okay, I want to put in a driveway. Fine. Where? Right up to the property line. Well, you need to make sure it doesn't divert water onto your neighbor. You need to keep it on your property. And just simple things that would divert, yes, pun intended, divert the issue and just have happy neighbors. Yeah. Want happy neighbors. And currently with the way things are poured out, again, pun intended, it just doesn't work that way. Yeah. Not enough that it really is just it's not a happy atmosphere. And so I bring that common sense, that analytical common sense to resolve these problems. And as mayor, I would lead policies to ensure that happens.
I want to shift for a moment into some of the questions that were submitted by our very own community members. Sure. So I've got, first question here is from Jordan from South Haven, touching on more so of the economic development. And so Jordan asks, you've talked about bringing jobs to South Haven, but what does that plan really look like? And are there specific industries or companies that you would want to target? And how do you intend to present South Haven as a place worth investing in?
Sure. So as I've already said numerous times, South Haven is a destination place for visitors. We need to make it, and a destination place for retirees. We need to make it a destination place for workers. And that starts most easily with work from home. To do that, we need to have reliable cable. Yep. We are working on that. So for current employers, I actually met with W.R. Grace this morning. Being on the Planning Commission, I review our master plan update that we're doing. And I had noticed that the master plan future land use map had changed significantly from the current future land use map. And I wanted to make sure they were aware of that so that they could provide any comments that they wanted to. I had briefly spoken with them before the July Planning Commission meeting, and attempts to make modifications at that time were not supported. I have since proceeded to continue to advocate for our employers to give them opportunities to comment. And what that does is, I want to support our current employers so that their plans are supported by our long-term master plan goals and future land use maps. So I'm intimately aware of unintended consequences with my legal background and my science background. I'm always trying to think forward and how could this be misinterpreted, or is it not clear enough? So we have to do, as a previous staff member would say, creative interpretation, which I really do not like because, I mean, the zoning ordinance is all about planning and giving people the understanding of what they should expect next to them.
Yep.
And so if there's vagueness or anything like that, that kind of shoots us in the foot for trying to have forward thinking and moving forward. And that's why I just really tried to proactively address that, and separately had also provided some proposed amendments that could hopefully be put in the agenda packet to facilitate discussion. And where I think my strongest skill set is for the mayoral position is, with my legal background, I have to see both sides, or I'm taught, I was trained to see both sides and trained to argue both sides. And I have that ability to do that and appreciate the effects of each side and try and reach a balanced middle position.
Yep.
And the middle position may not be square in the middle, depending on where we currently are and who may have had more benefit or less benefit. It may be closer to one side or the other. But the full goal, the intended goal, is to get to something that is fair and equitable to everyone to help us move forward. For future ones, I have said since my City Council Ward 3 campaign is that I would really like to see an economic development person full-time. We don't have that. We have great people like Market One and the South Haven Business Hub helping us with bringing in new people, and especially the Business Hub, they're very focused on entrepreneurial, new people, younger people wanting to start, and they provide such a phenomenal opportunity for those individuals to actually have successful starts. Because they use their experience to identify the pitfalls for them to maneuver, navigate around it.
Right.
Or change course if it's not going to work.
Yep.
And that's what it's all about, is helping each other move forward. And where I think we could really benefit from the an economic development person is, housing and economic development jobs are intimately tied together. You cannot have one without the other. It's a chicken and an egg.
Right.
And we cannot wait for for the housing to be built because it takes so long. We can come up with creative ideas. We have a lot of talent in our community who are ready to help out. And we just need to embrace them. What I would really like to see is having more diverse faces on our boards and commissions. Too often, the same people are reappointed or they go from one board to another. And I really like to see new ideas from the whole breadth of our community. And that's how I would bring new jobs, is because we are already a destination and we just need to make it feasible for them to stay here year round. Now, I've heard other people at our candidate forum say, well, we do have the township, which would be a less expensive area. But as I'm going door to door, I am hearing people say, my daughter's a teacher and she cannot afford to live here.
Right.
Well, and she was raised here. And that is what, I really want to focus on, those individuals who were raised here, who want to live here, who could walk to work, our teachers, our policemen, police officers, our South Haven area emergency services personnel, so that we can have them close by and have them be intimately involved in our area. And we are working towards that with our workforce housing.
A lot of people, I think, are wondering what it would take exactly for South Haven to, I think, evolve more as a place where those entrepreneurs and those year-round businesses can really thrive. So, one question I do have, what would support for Black and Brown businesses, business owners, what would that support look like? Or even for local startups, what are your plans for supporting those type of businesses?
Well, again, it really goes back to, I think, the South Haven Regional Business Hub. They really help with entrepreneurial new businesses.
Yeah,
And also our local mentorship, so, I mean, many are in the Business Hub.
right.
But like recently, I've been corresponding and meeting with Andrea Goodwin Hooker, who has a 501c3 nonprofit, Pretty, to help empower young girls to stay in our community and thrive in our community. And having started a 501c3 for animal rescue, I have shared some ideas with her, and just being philanthropic, I made sure she was aware of the South Haven Area Community Foundation, which provides grants to nonprofits. And she is such a go-getter. We need to have more people like her. You give her a suggestion and she takes it and just knocks it out of the ball field.
Yeah,
She just really delivers. And that's the thing. If we can empower our young workforce like that, I
right.
think that will bring more people here. And so it's reaching out to them. She did not originally she came to city council. After the city council meeting, I went and I got her contact information. I said, I'm going to provide you information about a nonprofit I'm on, because the deadline for grants is quickly approaching and I want to make sure you can apply.
Right.
And then I found out about her wanting to get some for lack of better description, door prizes for an event she had this past weekend. So,
Okay.
and just other things. And so I had met with her and gave her some suggestions. She took the ball and ran with it. And then I helped close it down, finalize it. So she found some bikes and got those. There were 4 that were given away. And I said,
Nice.
well, if we're doing bikes, then let's do bike helmets, because it's
Right.
so important to protect these little noggins
Yes.
of our up and coming, active residents. And at City Council just that past Monday, there was a discussion about how Safe Kids had given away 38 helmets at, I think it was Cones with Cops. So I reached out to my contact,
A lot of
Bronson Safe Kids, and she was out, and her email had a forward. I reached out to that person. That person was out. So I called and left a message. Oh, there's such great people over there. And they called me back, and within, I think, by the end of the day, they had 4 helmets to go with the 4 bikes.
wow, that's fantastic.
So it's all about connections, and I just continually am a connector person.
Yep.
And that is how we help our young people. And another example is, so Collective Mess is a nonprofit providing vegan meals. They usually do once a month. And so I'm vegetarian for the most part and gluten-free, and their menu just really suits my dietary preferences.
Yep.
And so this past year, my husband and I sponsored one of the meals on President's Day. And we chose that day because they do not have school that day. And I was like, that would be a perfect day to provide a free meal when children don't have access to the free meal at school.
Right.
And then I reached out. We have Blessings in a Backpack program in South Haven to send backpacks with food for children over the weekend. And I reached out to the Rotary, who now has that, and coordinated to get notes sent home in the Blessings in the Backpack. coordinated with, and Rotary had the great suggestion to have bilingual. And then I connected with We Care to have a Spanish translation done.
Nice.
And got the cards over to the Rotary, and they graciously put them in the backpacks. And Collective Mess did get meals from there, meal
Wow.
requests from there. So that is how you help new fledgling businesses grow their wings and fly.
And you mentioned great resources that are right here in our area, the South Haven Business Hub, the South Haven Community Foundation. Those are definitely great, hubs and resources that entrepreneurs, small business owners can take advantage of and get connected to.
It even gets better. So Collective Nest needed a commercial kitchen. And I was like, wow, the First Congregation has a commercial kitchen. So, and I know people who go to First Congregation. So let me make some phone calls. And now they have just a fantastic working relationship. It was like a relationship made in heaven for them.
Nice.
It was such a win-win. So I'm always looking for ways to help others, help our new businesses thrive.
Going back to affordable housing for a second, we did have another question here from Jordan, the same Jordan that submitted the earlier question. He brings up a good question about affordable housing, and here's what he asked. He says that you've mentioned affordable housing as a priority. Is there a price range in particular that you would consider as affordable for South Haven residents? And to add to...
Yes, and I'm trying to find, so affordable housing is defined as 30% of the person's income. So it's not a defined number. It's dependent on the person's income. We're working with Dwelling Place for the Overton development, and I'm so excited to have them. They are the gold star, and they were in front of us recently, and I think people were disappointed that they needed a little more time, and I was very pleased that with why they wanted more time. They're doing their diligence to get it right the first time, to make sure we do get housing on the Overton. If anyone's going to do it, they're going to do it, and I'm just so thrilled that we're working with them. So their development is planned to be 53 multi-unit apartments with what's called 30% to 80% area median income. So affordable. So Michigan State Housing Development Authority sets your area median income per county. So for Van Buren County, and for those homes for the 30% to 80% area median income, that will be, if you're looking at one person, it would be $18,270 would be the annual income of that person. And for a one person apartment at that rent, it would, at that income level, it would be a $456 per month rent.
Okay.
And so they're set based on the income. The apartments go up to 80% area median income, and that for a single person is $48,720, and the correlated rent would be $1,218. And it changes as the number of people in the family increase. And it's the annual income of the family. So if you have two working spouses and a child, then the total income would be, for the 30%, would be $23,490.
Gotcha.
And the corresponding rent would be $587. So it really, $651. Sorry, I misread.
Okay.
Oh wait, no, I read the first time. Sorry, my highlight. So yeah, 587. So it really only went up about 130, adding two more people.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then they're going to also have townhomes and single family homes, and those are supposed to be in the 80% to 120%. So those are going to be the higher income, and so I've already discussed the 80%, and the 120% would be $73,080. And so and they would be looking at a monthly payment of $1,827 for a single person. It's really set to be 30%. Other areas that we want to look at is infill, and I know Lakeshore Habitat for Humanity really wants to come into our area, and I'm really excited about that. And when I first got elected, I had reached out to Alan Edwin because they have a workforce housing division. And I'm very excited to hear. And I connected, I had provided Kate that person's name, the person in charge of the workforce housing back in 2024. And I had followed up with him in February of this year. And he's like, oh, yes, I need to reach out to the city. And so I was pleased to hear that connection is actually going someplace, it appears, because Annie had talked about, meeting with Alan Edwin. So, that was one area that I had identified, had given the name to Kate in 2024, followed up with the Alan Edwin person in February of this year. So it's great to see some of my ideas either shared similarly but we're all aligned.
Good.
And it shows that I'm on the right path because they're pursuing those people that I've identified. And so that's one way. And the other way is to have duplexes, triplexes, possibly fourplexes in our residential area. I know of someone who really wanted to turn his home into a duplex, and that gives him income producing on his property while he's still there. That is not allowed in our zoning ordinance, and I'm very happy that the master plan is suggesting duplexes, triplexes. Mm-hmm. I would have liked to have seen also fourplexes, because you could then have stacked homes, and you could have a person with mobility issues, then a younger person or a person without mobility issues on the top floor, and it would be like a 500 square foot condo.
Okay.
That would be more in the workforce housing area with the sliding scale.
Gotcha.
And so the master plan suggests that being by special land use, and I originally was thinking that I would rather have them by right, but in my walking door to door, I've had people say, I really want to have input as to what's going next to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yes, that does make sense. I appreciate that. So I would support it through special land use. It just provides a safety opportunity, an open communication, as we were saying, neighbors, right, and having a good relationship. And to facilitate that, I had raised this at the candidate forum, is to have pre-approved structures, dwelling units that you would have. So it would go through zoning. We have standard lot sizes for the residential areas. There's really only 2 that would be big enough to have this and meet the regular setback standards, and have the size of the lot big enough for the on-site parking and things like that.
Sure.
And we do have several throughout the community. There's a duplex down the street from me. There's several duplexes scattered throughout the community. Some people do not even know they are duplexes. And that's exactly what we want. And we had heard from Ryan Kilpatrick, a housing consultant. He had presented to us housing types. And they just fit right in. You would never even know that it was more than one unit. And we had an open house as part of our master plan update, and all of that input was taken and incorporated into the master plan update. So I'm excited about that. So there's a lot of ways to do that. And then 2 other items, accessory dwelling units, sorry, it's a tongue twister, ADUs, we like to call them. And, those are apartments above garages, things like that. And those do provide a lot of benefit, kind of in-law suites. Mm-hmm. the biggest concern that I hear with the ADUs is that they would be abused for short-term rental. And the whole purpose is for long-term rental for residents to build our year-round resident population. So we would need to ensure checks and balances, that it was properly administered so it wasn't abused. And then one item that I haven't heard much, and maybe it's because we don't really have the right size lot for that, would be a tiny home. Where you have your own independent living space, no adjacent walls, which is kind of nice. That might work with some of the larger lots.
Okay.
But currently our zoning ordinance only allows for one principal use, dwelling use. So that would be something that we would have to address. And that did not make it through the master plan update, unfortunately. That did not get addressed. But I do know, I have raised it, and I would have liked to have seen it addressed, but I did not get support for that.
Gotcha.
But my record shows I don't give up when I don't get support. I persevere, because especially when I think it's right for the community.
Yep. Perseverance, that's it. Along that same line, regarding short-term rentals, which I think we had briefly just touched on, we did get a question from Emily from South Haven, who brings up, I think, a neat perspective to consider. So she asks the question of, short-term rentals are often blamed for lack of young people and families settling in South Haven. But she feels that it's a bit short-sighted. So she wants to know, what deeper trends do you think are contributing to that shift? And how do you feel the city can become a place where younger residents, families actually want to stay and plant roots?
A perfect example is what has happened in New Buffalo. So they changed their zoning ordinances and prohibited short-term rentals in their residential districts.
Okay.
In, I believe, 2020, and they have had a 5% increase in residential occupancy. So it really does have a direct link. There are also unappreciated effects of short-term rentals. An income-producing house will cause the home to sell, have a higher price. It does incentivize it for investors. So then it gets into a bidding war, which then prices out our locals. It does have a higher impact, cyclical impact during the peak seasons on our infrastructure. And they are taxed just like regular residents. And so, we're always trying to figure out how to make our regular dollars stretch. And in order to have done that, to pay for our sewer and water and maintenance and police, we have actually had to pass millages. And granted, the registered voters do pass those millages, but it starts to stack up.
Yeah.
And it's the taxes, the overall taxes, have the biggest impact on newer families, because it's very difficult to pay those taxes. And I know of families who have had to move because they could no longer afford to pay the taxes. And so the message really that gets spun is that people are against short-term rentals. And that is inaccurate. I am unaware of anybody who wants no short-term rentals. We understand short-term rentals are part and parcel with our community.
Yep.
We had, with the ordinances in 2018, they had tried to get 1 in 4 ratio, but in the process they excluded some homes, so apartments, things like that. So the overall impact is that in the areas where short-term rentals are, they could potentially have 30% short-term rentals. And it does detract from the residential character. So if you want families, you really need to have a residential character because they're coming here for the community and the interaction of children playing with children. And if we do not have children to play with the incoming families, that is not a draw because other surrounding areas do. I would like to look at it more. We have a lot of short-term rentals, and what I'm hearing from some owners is they're not able to rent it as much as they want or at the price they want. And so it's not as income producing as it had been. Tourism is down nationwide, if not worldwide. I think short-term rentals are down nationwide. And the problem is that when homes are for sale, it's marketed as, oh, you can get income. And it's not always clear and it's not easily confirmed factually how much has been raised, for income producing. So for a more transparent process, it would be nice if the sellers had to provide their income that they made from short-term rentals so people understood what they should anticipate, and show how it may have fluctuated over years, so that would be very helpful. But again, I'm going to loop back to what has happened in New Buffalo, where short-term rentals are no longer allowed. They've had a 5% increase in the last few years, which is significant. More importantly, I think the focus on short-term rentals is short-sighted. Not that we are short-sighted looking at them. We really need to have year-round residents. We need to work on having sufficient services for them. And what I mean is health services. We are not retaining doctors in our community because we don't have a community. We have one home in a block whose lights are on year-round. And the rest of the homes on that block are dark. The sidewalks do not get shoveled. Sure, a ticket can get issued, but it's still not shoveled. It's not a community. Without the doctors, we're not able to have a full health service. People with special needs have to travel. We're losing that community feel. And when we do not have that community feel, we're not going to bring families here. And also, don't forget about our schools. We love our teachers. We love our administration. And they do so much for our students. This past year, I was very involved with the History Club. Their theme was rights and responsibilities. And the teacher, Julie Shepard, knew that I had a legal degree. She did not know my husband was a historian. So we went and talked with the students. And it was such a rewarding experience I had this past year. I would go in on Sundays and meet with them. I would talk about topics. For some of the students, I would do some legal research to identify some cases they could look at.
Yeah.
And actually was able to coordinate with the help of Circuit Court Judge Brickley a tour of two of the students who were doing Ruth Bader Ginsburg as their topic, to go to the county courthouse and meet with our women circuit court judge, probate judge, so Judge Brickley, Metzger. Unfortunately, Prosecutor Zeiderveen, also Susan Zeiderveen, was unavailable. A family obligation took her out, took her out of the office. But we had her assistant prosecutor, and they got to sit behind the judge at the judge's bench, hit the gavel, and really experience what it is. And more importantly, they got to see our judges are normal people and got to hear about what they really have. It's very difficult to hear these trials and come out with a just decision, a just sentence, when to enter plea. And they're just really dedicated people. And I think with that interaction that the students had and their moms who came, it was just very rewarding, I think, for everybody involved. And so and for the 16th year, the History Club has gone to nationals. So several won at state, one locally, they went to state, and 3 went to nationals. So 1 solo person and a dual team.
Wow.
And we also have our robotics group. We have our excellent band, orchestra, marching band. The marching band plays in the Memorial Day parade. It's not uncommon for one of the students to do the bugle call. It's just, we really have a lot of talent. We really need to foster that talent and also be more cognizant of embracing all of our students and making sure there's diversity in our top students.
Another question here, this time from Aaron from South Haven. He asked the question kind of regarding transparency and trust. And I know that was something you had touched on at the beginning of our interview here. So Aaron asked, what is your plan to better communicate decisions and opportunities to the public, especially people who don't always feel represented or connected to what's going on at City Hall?
Yes, and that's exactly why I ran for City Council Ward 3. Is I myself would get up, speak, they would say thank you, and it's as if I never even had talked. So my track record shows I have listened to all stakeholders. But you have to realize our charter, our registered voters are our bosses. We are the boss of the city manager. The city manager is the boss of her staff. And so my one priority is ensuring that reporting is reinforced. And one way to do that, and I think the communication really should be more upfront. I would like the staff reports to proactively address the 2 main opposing issues. And it should not lengthen the staff reports, and I've actually shared that idea to Kate. And a couple talking points so that people are hearing what the 2 lines of thinking are, because and then we can have hopefully a much shorter meeting, because the main talking points that would really be decision makers. We don't need to get into the weeds. Sure. Although I'm accused of that, we really need to stay a little bit above that, but we do need to really discuss both sides. And I think Councilman Reeser says this often: debate is not bad. Debate can be civil, and debate shows that we are thinking, we are listening, and we want to make the right choice. And we're not afraid to, change our decision if something new is presented to us. And that is how we start the open communication at the very beginning. What are the 2 main issues? Why is one better than the other? Has the most critical points been considered? And just because we don't agree on something does not mean we're not moving towards the same goal. And that's that's what's best for the residents. And once that decision is made, making sure it is properly communicated. So the city council minutes tend to be very short, brief.
Yeah.
And that's because the goal is, what is the action? What was the decision? And then that leads to misunderstandings of what was said and misunderstandings of how we operate. So a lot of people, I think, do not understand that the city council actually gets the agenda packet the same time it's published to everybody, the ward people. The mayor position has more influence on setting the city council agenda, but the 6 ward members, I get the agenda packet when everybody else does. So when it's updated on Friday, I then have the weekend to review it, to discuss at Monday's city council meeting. It's not a lot of time, especially when there's a lot of issues, really important issues on the same docket.
Right.
Does not happen too often. And then that makes for a not so easy discussion at City Council because with Open Meetings Act, if we're discussing something that has an influence on our decision-making process, that really needs to be in open talk. And if we have discussions with Kate, the city manager, ahead of time, if they were important enough to say, okay, this is why the recommendation is as it is, okay, I accept that, it would be helpful to go on the record to explain that.
Gotcha.
So that all the key factors going into the decision-making process, if they're not in the staff report, are then in the open. And with that more open discussion, we would then have, I think, a clearer path and a shorter path to helping the residents understand why something was made. Because to understand why it was done, like I said, proactively, putting it at the front in the staff report that people have access to. And I think it would avoid surprises that, why do you not agree with the staff report?
Yeah.
Well, I'm aware of this issue, I'm aware of this concern from residents, and I think it needs to be addressed before I can make a decision.
Before we wrap up here, is there any kind of message, any advice, any words of wisdom that you want to leave with South Haven's young professionals or maybe working families as they head to the polls this fall?
Yes, so my track record is listening to you. I hear your concerns and I pursue answers to those concerns. I may not get them right away, but I do not give up. I keep a list. And I really have the residents' heart in my focus, and my track record shows that I'm not afraid to disagree with a staff recommendation if I believe it's not going to get us to where I think we need to go. I have the most experience of the three candidates. I have been intimately involved with city politics for over 4 years, going routinely to city council meetings, going routinely to planning commission meetings. I know what the issues are. I know where to take us. I know how to work with others to come together. As a legal person, especially before I went into corporate, I handled custody, divorce cases. I recently handled, after retiring, to pro bono cases for Legal Aid of Western Michigan for divorce cases. With my legal background, as I was saying before, I can see both sides. I can help identify areas where we can make some compromises, but not at the expense of the residents. And that is why I am asking for your vote, for the residents' vote, to be mayor, because I will bring that impartiality to the city council in the mayoral position to ensure the voices of our residents are heard and questions are addressed. And I ask you to get out to vote for me, Mary, for mayor, because I really want, my overall arching goal is increase our year-round population, which will then have a positive ripple effect on affordable housing, healthcare services, police, emergency services, SHAEs, and we will get our sense of community back.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mary, for being here and for engaging in these thoughtful, community-focused questions. It means a lot for you to take time to be here with us. I think these conversations definitely matter because when, residents, everyday people are help shaping this kind of dialogue, I think we get just a step closer to the leadership that really does reflect us. So
Yes.
thank you.
And if I can just do a quick plug, because this Sunday, correct? You are going to be in South Haven from noon to 2, I believe, for Van Buren County Forward.
Yes.
for their grand opening at the First Congregation Church on Phoenix Street. So I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
And it's just a great opportunity to work one-on-one. And one thing I didn't include, but I thought of as you were talking.
Yeah.
I grew up in a very working class family. I worked in high school I babysat before I could work. I worked as soon as I could get a job. I put myself through college. And I know what it's like to help out family members and the community, and that's what it's all about, is helping each other. And with my leadership, I would like to say South Haven can lift ourselves up by our own bootstraps, because we have such talent here and we just need to make it sparkle.
Thank you, Mary. And for everyone that's been watching, tuning in, listening, don't forget South Haven's primary election is Tuesday, August 5th. So double check your registration status, do your research, get to know the candidates that are on the ballot this year, and make your voice heard. If this episode, this conversation has been insightful, if it clarified or sparked something for you, share it with your friends, your family. You can tag us at NextGen YBP or stay connected at nextgenybp.com. Until then, keep showing up, keep dreaming forward, and we'll see you next time at the next episode of Start Small, Dream Big.